afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Moving Markets podcast. It is Thursday, July the 24th, 2025. U.S. stock market has been closed for about 2 hours at the time we're beginning this today. I was hopeful to get online a little bit earlier than this, but life is busy where I'm at right now. So I hope it gave you some heads up and some warning. I hope you'll be understanding today, tomorrow, all of next week. And then after that, I will be back in my home office, and back to a very normal schedule. So let's just talk very briefly about what the markets did today, because I need to spend some time talking about a couple of trades. Dow Jones Industrial Average finished down. This is, I think, close to the low end of the day. It was down largely on a couple of stocks. United Health and IBM both took some pretty big hits today. United Health on some news this morning that they were going to be involved in some type of a lawsuit for Medicaid fraud or Medicare fraud, and IBM on some earnings information that was disappointing and caused investors to sell out. But those are both mid to high weighted companies in the Dow. The Dow, for most of the day, the number of companies that were up and the number of companies that were down were kind of split, but those two were down really, really big. So it goes to show you that the Dow Jones Industrial Average shouldn't be the index that we're the most focused on. It's usually the leading index in the front headline index, and it's a less reliable index than the S&P 500. The S&P 500 always gets referred to as the broader market. It is a much better and a much bigger sampling of companies throughout the country and in multiple different sectors. And the S&P was pretty flat, but just a tiny bit to the upside. And I believe every day that it finishes to the upside, I believe is a new all-time high, until it has some days that it sells off and then is trying to get back to that. So NASDAQ had a decent day, up almost 40 points. I think a lot of that came on Google. They're not a super heavy weighted company in terms of what the share price is, but Google is a big company, massive company in terms of their market cap. They have the ability to pull some other companies up with them. The feud between Jerome Powell and Donald Trump continues to go on. The look on Powell's face right there says everything to me. I would caption this: Donald Trump is saying, you're running the Fed and you can't even read a simple balance sheet or a simple statement about the cost of things. Anyway, I'm being a little facetious, obviously, but that's not really driving markets right now. I don't think anybody cares anymore about the feud between Donald Trump and Jerome Powell. So a lot more earnings coming up next week. There will be a lot more going on. Let's talk about a couple of the trades that we're in. The Tesla trade that we put on last week, or actually Monday of this week, I got out quite easily this morning when Tesla dropped, and hopefully you were watching Discord, because I was able to get out of the put side only and get a really nice profit on that. And so we're in great shape on that. CoreWeave was down again today, and it went from being a little bit positive to a little bit negative. Remember yesterday it was just a little tiny bit in the positive, it's a little tiny bit in the negative. And while I'm still disappointed that CoreWeave was down again, because I keep looking and feeling like this should be it should be finding some support. And there's, other than the fact that it really got maybe too much of a run too fast, this seems a little unjustified. I think people made so much profit in this company that it's a place they can pull money out still at a big profit. I think CoreWeave after the next earnings is probably going back up to this 190 mark that it was at just a month and a half ago. In fact, just a month ago, this thing hit. Let's see. Let me get the little crosshairs on here. Intraday, it hit 187 just a month ago, and today it closed right at its very lowest point of the session, literally plunked down right at the end and closed it as low of the session, right down at 120. I keep thinking that, that it's going to hold support, and I was looking at it doing a little bit higher, and now I'm looking at, maybe it comes down to 105. That's, to me, that's kind of the next support level. One thing I haven't done on this chart that I should probably do real quick is look at the 50 and the 200-day moving averages and see where those are at, specifically the 50, because I wonder if it has gone through that 50-day moving average already. Right at it. It broke below it today, and maybe that finished below the 50-day moving average. Is that could be a bad omen if they don't open up and very quickly move to the upside tomorrow morning at the open of trading. If CoreWeave doesn't bounce and move up a little bit, and you get a confirmed full crossover of that 50-day moving average, I got to tell you, I've been holding off on making an adjustment on this trade, and I will no longer hold off on it. If it does a clean break through that 50-day moving average, let's see, did that not put a? I tried to put a 200-day moving average in, and maybe it didn't give us one just because there's not enough data. That's probably the reason you don't get a 200 moving day average in there. Oh, yeah, undefined. I don't know if you can see that right there. It says undefined. And it's because you don't have 200 days worth of trading. So we'll see that support breaks down there. You might see CoreWeave losing a massive amount of value before their next earnings. And if it doesn't bounce tomorrow right at the open and look like it's going to have an up day, I think there should be some people seeing this as a phenomenal buy opportunity. But if they don't, you can see it's just up a tiny, tiny bit after market. If it doesn't get a bounce and take off to the upside tomorrow, watch out below. This thing could honestly go back down to a $50 or $60 a share company where it, went early on in its public trading history. So that would not be a good thing, either for our collar trade or for our spread trade. So I'm going to watch. If it doesn't bounce tomorrow, for sure an adjustment coming on that one. Mostly, I want to talk about Google, and I talked about Tesla. Now, we have a Tesla trade on the spread trade side that closed quite easily. On the triple play side of things, our Tesla trade is still down a little bit because Tesla went down several times today. It closed at 305.30. We really need Tesla. And as you can see, Tesla is bouncing right off that. I mean, it just basically went right down to the 200-day moving average, but then it came up from that and finished up here. We really need to see this move down below 305 tomorrow. Now, if Tesla ended the day tomorrow exactly where it's at right now, we would still be nicely profitable in this trade. We would still have a really good position, really good profit in this trade. They're bouncing just a little bit after market. That's not a good thing. It's very possible on this Tesla trade that we'll be, I think Tesla will go down farther, but who's to say if it'll go down far enough tomorrow? So tomorrow at the open, if you're in this Tesla trade that has the 305 short put strike price, make sure you're watching Discord, because we will roll the put side of this trade out 1 week tomorrow if we don't see it open to the downside or start trading to the downside. I really think this aftermarket is just a little bit of a dead cat bounce, because 8% move on a stock in 1 day is a pretty big move. That's a sizable move to the downside. So we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. Very possible we'll have to adjust this trade. Hopefully you're watching Discord today, because also on the triple play side of things, we rolled MicroStrategy out 1 week. After rolling it out 1 week, it had actually a good size move back to the upside. These guys managed to finish ever so slightly in positive territory today, in spite of spending the majority of the day trading to the downside. I really think right there at that 405 mark, it has found some support that it will hold. I still think it could bounce back up and be back to 420 really, really easily, but I did not want to sit in this trade through the day tomorrow worrying about whether it was going to go back up or not. It was easier to just roll it straight out. I think it very possibly could get a bounce tomorrow, and it would not take much for it to be right back up to. Well, you can see it's given up already in aftermarket trading. It's given up half of what it gained today, a little more than half of what it gained. But even from this point right here, 413, that's only got to go up $6.50 to be back to 420, and that's a nothing move for this company in a single day. So we'll see what happens there. I think it could get there very, very easily, but we rolled out 1 week, so we're not stressing or sweating that in any way, shape, or form. Now, I mentioned this yesterday. I'm looking at Palantir, and they finished up today. That might be a fresh new all-time high close. 5 trading days ago, they closed at 153.99. Today, closing at 154.86. New all-time high close. They got higher than that during the day, but new all-time high close for Palantir. Our Palantir spread trade is over 350% profitable from where we opened it right now. I mentioned Palantir reports earnings 1 week from this coming Monday, which I believe is August 4th. I don't know what to expect on Palantir on earnings. I think they have had, after a big drop right here, they had a great earnings report in end of April, first part of May that just catapulted. I mean, they've just been. This has been such a phenomenal performing stock. I mean, you're talking from right here. This is $67.50 a share, up to 155. What is that, like 150% in a period of about maybe 3.5, call it 3.5 months? That is just absolutely out of this world phenomenal. I don't know if Palantir can keep going up at this pace. My expectation is for more of a sell-off on Palantir. I think instead of staying in this spread trade that we have open on them right now, I think the time has come to book this profit. It is a phenomenal profit, absolutely phenomenal profit. I think the time has come to book that profit. And I think after earnings, we look to get back in something. If after earnings in a week and a couple of days, Palantir takes off again to the upside, we can get in a new long-term calendar trade and start looking for ways to make a whole bunch more money on them. If they have a miss, I don't think you'd see a drop, down much below this 130-ish mark. Maybe they come down. You could make a case for the strongest level of visual support down there around 122, 125, somewhere in that range. And if they came down that far, I would be all in. I would be absolutely unequivocally jumping back into this thing long term. We've got a great collar trade on them. We don't need to worry about anything as far as it relates to the collar trade that we have on them. That 50-day moving average for these guys right there at that. That's that 50-day moving average. If you look at that coincides very nicely with what you see. Resistance, test of support. That's right in line with that 50-day moving average. Even on a miss, I doubt they would fall much below that. And I could see that as a absolutely phenomenal opportunity to get back into a new trade on this and see and I would do something long-term on it again and see if we can't have a second trade this year. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to put there. I wanted to just throw the 200-day moving average in here real quick just to see. Yeah, I doubt they would come down here to the 200-day moving average or honestly even get very close to it. It'd have to be a massive miss by Palantir to drop that far. But so I'm going to make it official, and I will send an email out on it. Up or down at the open tomorrow, even if they're down a little bit at the open, it's not going to be anything stressful. It's not going to change dramatically where we're at on this trade. Let's take the big, gigantic win on Palantir, and let's exit this. I am probably going to do the same thing with NVIDIA a week or so ahead of their earnings, but NVIDIA's earnings does not come up until I want to say August 22nd. No, 27th. I was off by a week. August 27th. So probably sometime around the 20th, 21st, maybe the 19th, somewhere in that time period. I think we'll take whatever profit we have in NVIDIA if we don't decide to do it earlier and get out. So I'm not going to create a PDF for this. I'm going to send out an email when I'm done with this presentation, and we're going to make that close of our Palantir trade, one of the best spread trades I've ever put out with Safe Option Strategies. And then we'll just look for we might do, maybe we'll do another long iron condor on it ahead of earnings if the prices are good. But if not, we'll just wait for the earnings report and then do something on them after earnings, depending on whether they're up or down. So, all right. So for the Triple Play members, be watching for a probable Tesla adjustment tomorrow and a probable Google adjustment tomorrow, unless Google's moving higher up and Tesla's moving farther down. Super disappointed with Google that after initially, I think I haven't talked about Google yet. Super disappointed that they opened way up here at 197.50, and within 30 minutes of the market being open, they had given up the bulk of that, and they ended up finishing right about really close to where their high of the day was yesterday. Yesterday they had a down day, but they finished really close to the high of the day yesterday with only a little bit of profit today. Hopefully, they would need to go up about $3 a share, right in the neighborhood of let's call it $2.80 a share. And I think they're more than capable of doing that. But disappointing that after the phenomenal earnings they had, the hype that was going on in the aftermarket and the pre-market trading, and even the open that saw them go up above 197.50, all they could manage was about a 1% gain today. That's disappointing. It makes you wonder if there are some insiders that know something that we don't know about Google. And I think there's a probability that we'll adjust this trade by rolling out the call side of it tomorrow. All right, I'm going to wrap up right there for the day. Have a great rest of your day, and make sure if you're in the Google or the Tesla trade on the Triple Play side that you're watching Discord tomorrow. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.